You see their smiles, their achievements, their victories. And quietly, a painful question appears in your mind. Why not me? In those moments, doubt becomes loud. It whispers that maybe success belongs only to certain people. The talented ones. The lucky ones. The people born into the right families. And slowly, hope begins to fade. But what if those painful moments are not meant to destroy you? What if they are the very moments meant to build you? Because behind many great success stories, there is usually a long chapter of struggle that no one ever sees. This is the story of a boy who refused to let hardship define him. Many years ago, in a quiet village surrounded by dusty roads and wide fields, lived a boy named Daniel. Daniel's home stood at the edge of the village. It was small. Old wooden walls leaned slightly from age, and the roof was patched with pieces of metal that rattled loudly whenever the wind blew. During heavy rain, water slipped through the roof and dropped slowly onto the floor. His mother placed bowls and buckets around the room to catch the leaks. At night, the sound of water dripping echoed through the tiny house. Daniel lived there with his mother and his younger brother. His father had passed away when Daniel was only 6 years old. The memory of his father was fading, but one thing remained clear in his heart. The feeling of his father's strong arms lifting him into the air and saying, "You will grow into a strong man one day." After his father died, life became difficult. Daniel's mother worked long hours selling vegetables at the local market. Every morning before sunrise, she carried a basket heavier than her small frame could handle. By the time she returned home at night, her feet were swollen and her voice was tired. But no matter how exhausted she was, she always smiled at her children. And she always said the same words. "We may not have much money, but we must never become poor in spirit." Daniel held onto those words like a treasure. At school, Daniel's life was not easy. Many students came from families who could afford new uniforms, colorful backpacks, and fresh notebooks. Daniel had none of those things. His uniform had been sewn and resewn so many times that the fabric looked like a patchwork of different shades. His shoes were worn thin. Sometimes small stones slipped inside as he walked. Some classmates noticed. And children, as they sometimes do, laughed. One afternoon during break time, a group of boys pointed at his shoes. "Look at that," one of them said loudly. "Did you find those in the trash?" Laughter filled the playground. Daniel felt his chest tighten. His face burned with embarrassment. For a moment, tears tried to rise in his eyes. But he swallowed them. Instead, he looked down quietly and whispered to himself, "One day, my life will change." After school, Daniel didn't go home to rest. He walked to the busy town market. There, he worked carrying bags for customers. Some of the bags were nearly as heavy as he was. His arms shook. His shoulders ached. But he continued. Every coin he earned, he placed carefully into his mother's tired hands at night. Sometimes she would look at him with watery eyes. "You are too young to carry so much responsibility," she would say softly. Daniel would smile and reply, "I'm not carrying it alone. You carry this first." At night, when the village finally grew quiet, Daniel opened his books. The room was dark except for a small candle placed beside him. The tiny flame flickered with every breeze. His shadow stretched across the wall as he turned each page slowly. Sometimes sleep tried to steal his focus. Sometimes exhaustion made the words blur. But Daniel kept reading. Because deep inside him was a belief stronger than his fear. He believed his future could be different. One evening, his teacher, Mr. Alvarez, noticed something unusual. While other students rushed out of school laughing and chatting, Daniel remained behind. He sat quietly in the classroom, studying. The teacher approached him. "Daniel," he asked gently, "why do you stay late every day?" Daniel hesitated. Then he answered honestly. "Because I want my mother to rest one day." The teacher looked at him silently. In that moment, he did not see a poor village boy. He saw determination. From that day forward, Mr. Alvarez began helping him after school. Extra lessons. Extra books. Extra encouragement. And sometimes, that belief from just one person can change everything. But life had not finished testing Daniel. When he turned 16, tragedy struck again. His mother became seriously ill. She could no longer walk to the market. The small income that fed the family disappeared overnight. Fear filled their tiny house. Bills grew. Food became scarce. For the first time in years, Daniel felt overwhelmed. One night, he walked alone to the river outside the village. The moonlight shimmered on the dark water. He sat quietly on the riverbank. And finally, Daniel wiped his tears. Slowly, something inside him hardened into resolve. I will not quit. From that night forward, Daniel worked harder than ever. He woke before sunrise. He studied before school. He worked after school. He studied again late into the night. His body was exhausted, but his dream refused to sleep. Years passed. And one day, a letter arrived. Daniel opened it with trembling hands. It was a scholarship acceptance to a university in the city. For a moment, he could not breathe. His mother hugged him tightly. This time, the tears in their home were not tears of pain. They were tears of hope. City life was overwhelming at first. Tall buildings, crowded streets, confident students who seemed far more prepared than he was. During his first semester, Daniel failed an important exam. He sat alone in his small dorm room staring at the result. Old fears returned. Maybe they were right, he thought. Maybe I don't belong here. He packed his bag. He was ready to give up. Then he saw something on his desk. A small photo of his mother. Her tired smile. Her sacrifices. Slowly, he unpacked his bag. I didn't come this far just to stop now. He studied harder. He asked questions even when he felt embarrassed. He worked night shifts at a small cafe to support himself. Some nights he slept only a few hours. But little by little, things began to change. His grades improved. His confidence grew. And the boy who once studied under candlelight slowly became one of the strongest students in his class. Years later, Daniel graduated. Finding work was not easy. Many companies rejected him. But rejection did not scare him anymore. He had survived worse. Instead of waiting for opportunity, he created it. He started a small business with the little savings he had. At first, customers were few. But Daniel treated every person with respect and kindness. He remembered what it felt like to struggle. People noticed. Trust grew. The business slowly expanded. One shop became 2. 2 became 3. Years later, Daniel became one of the most respected entrepreneurs in the region. One afternoon, he returned to his old village school as a guest speaker. He stood in the same classroom where he had once been mocked. The room was filled with students listening quietly. Daniel smiled gently and said, "Success is not built in one day. It is built in the small moments when you choose not to give up." The classroom was silent. Some students wiped tears from their eyes because they recognized something in his story. Hope. Later that evening, Daniel walked once again to the same river where he had cried years ago. But this time, he stood taller, stronger, wiser. And he finally understood something important. His struggle was never meant to destroy him. It was meant to prepare him. Remember this. Your difficult moments are not the end of your story. They are only the beginning of your strength. Because success does not belong only to the lucky. It belongs to those who refuse to stop trying. No matter how dark the road becomes. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who may need encouragement today. And remember, your circumstances do not decide your future. Your courage does.